Hello everybody, my name is Marcell, and this is the Rant-A-Way Podcast where we don't talk about our favorite things, we rant away about them. I've got my co-host with me here today, Money Green. Money Green, what's up?
That sounds really like news reporter, like parody-ish.
We're
But
coming to you
I'm good.
live a week after.
I'm good. How you doing, bro?
It's Saturday.
This is Saturday, so yeah, you usually do this on Sunday. But it's the first Saturday. Tomorrow is Mother's Day.
Tomorrow is
So
Mother's
happy
Day.
Mother's Day.
And by the
I don't
time
know
you
if you have
guys see this,
any-
I hope you had a good Mother's Day.
Oh, it'll be a week after.
Yep.
Yeah, so it'll be a week after. So yeah, no, happy Mother's Day. So if we got any mothers listening, shout out to my mother and my aunt. They listen, so shout out to them. Happy Mother's Day to anybody else, and to anybody who's listening to their mom. Shout out to y'all's moms.
Yeah, I agree.
I was about to say, yeah, did I say something wrong?
No. You said that. You said everything that could be said about mothers on this particular day.
Yeah, I mean, gotta show the mom some love. I thought about doing a Mother's Day episode, but I was like, I don't really know.
Mothers are needed in the household just as much as fathers.
I mean, yeah,
co-parenting will make great offspring.
I was gonna do a that, and then I was like, oh yeah, the Valentine's Day joint. And I was like, oh, so we might end up doing it by like June, and then it would be Father's Day, so that'd be kind of counterproductive. But nah. So what's been going on with you, man? What you watching? What you playing? What you reading? If you're reading anything? What's
Well,
the life of Pandora?
I got into Harry Potter with my girlfriend. It's actually pretty good. It's actually
What
pretty
you mean,
good.
the movies?
Yeah. I am.
Oh, okay, that's what's up.
I'm really enjoying this world setup. I might end up getting Hogwarts Legacy if this sticks the landing for me.
Yeah, as somebody who didn't, I mean, I think I talked about it on here before because I think I was saying, how we grew up, our parents. Oh, see, we're gonna talk about our parents a little bit anyway. How we grew up, our parents wouldn't, let that fly, witchcraft and all of that. Can't do Harry Potter. And I think I told you how I was like, yeah. When I finally watched it, I was kind of just like, this is what I couldn't watch. This is what they was trying to keep from me. So I didn't really care for it because I was just like, it's just like Star Wars, except with magic and wizards and whatever. So I was like, yeah, I wasn't really that impressed. But as somebody who didn't really care for the movies like that, Hogwarts Legacy is a good game, definitely.
Oh, well, that's good. It's good. I think
Definitely.
I think I'm separated enough from it where I can still just enjoy it on the surface. So as it is right now, I think it's gonna be a good time. I'm only 2 movies in, so this could go really, really good, or this can go really, really bad.
No, I think it's pretty good. I think me personally, I mean, I don't know. I think our super fan may know about a bit about Harry Potter, but I don't know 100%. I know that some people say like as it gets on, some of them get more interesting, some of them are less interesting, and then it gets kind of polarizing. Some people love it, some people hate it. But it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Obviously, people will say the books are better, but the game. Me personally, the movies was all right. The game was good. Game is like if you're a fan of it, it has a lot in there that you can you'll get happy about if you're a fan of the series and stuff like that. But it's pretty good. It's just good all around. I thought.
Dope.
Felt like.
Oh, well, looking forward to it. What you up to?
So I watched the Thunderbolts.
I still want to see the Thunderbolts.
I mean, you're a movie guy. You're a movie guy. So you're gonna go see it. You probably enjoy it or whatever, because I know you usually see the best of things. And I think when we watched it, we didn't think anything negative about it. I think that the general consensus was just like it was like this is something that could have just came to like Disney Plus. It probably should have just came to Disney Plus because it kind of just feels like so. how we feel about it, or how I feel about it personally, I can't say we. We all like. I went to stay with my mother and my homeboy. We all felt like, yeah, this is a movie that could have just went straight to the streaming joint. But how I feel about it personally is that this is a movie that like Marvel will put out like back when they was really popping, like
Mm-hmm.
when they tried to get like Ant-Man going and stuff like that, and like everything was just clicking on all cylinders, like they couldn't miss. This was a movie that they would have put out back then, and it probably would have did great. But right now, since everybody's kind of like, Marvel's falling off, and people's got the superhero fatigue, so you really got to put your foot in it, and you really got to put a lot of effort into it and stuff like that. This is a movie that's kind of just like, yeah, it's there. You know, it's a Marvel movie. It's fine. I actually think Captain America is way better than this movie, but this movie's okay. It's okay. And I know what I get what they're doing. I know what they're doing. I was trying to really give it like the benefit of the doubt, but I mean, it really is there. It really this movie really just makes it so that Fantastic Four really has to hit it out of the park. Otherwise, I think people are gonna fully start turning on Marvel.
I feel like they say that about every movie, especially when it came to Brave New World. So I like whatever the conversation is regarding just anything Marvel poops out, good or bad. I'm just kind of like whatever. If I'm gonna go see it, I'm gonna go see it. I hope I don't get spoiled along the way. Been doing pretty good so far, but yeah, like I don't know. Whatever the discourse is for the whole, if it feels like more there's like a narrative within the narrative of Marvel of them trying to come back from the brink. Like I don't know. Weird to explain. It's a lot to get into, and I'm pretty sure we don't have, the the dissection of Marvel on the topic for today. But
Well,
yeah,
we don't, but you might prefer that over what we do. But no, I mean like not as to say like convers. I mean, I don't really. I know what the conversation is. I feel like a lot of people, and again, like I try to look at it more balanced. I feel like a lot of people is just really kind of like since Endgame and since like those Marvel movies really set the standard. Like the bar was really high, and then now it's just like as with everything, you can see the flaws in it. You can poke the holes in it and this and that and whatever, and they haven't really hit that level since Endgame. I mean, some movies do good, some do better than others, obviously, but I mean, I think really coming out of Endgame, you really only had um, what was it, Far From Home or No Way Home, excuse me,
hmm.
whichever one was the last Spider-Man, and then Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is the only real hits I can remember. And then Disney is doing, I mean, Marvel is doing this thing where they're just like funneling a lot of things like, yeah, well, to get this movie, you have to watch the nine. It's like what we talked about when we talk about Final Fantasy 15. To get this, you have to watch this and speed this and read this and watch that and then play that and then stop that and then play this and then, so this Marvel movies are doing that with Disney. Was like, well, to get this to fully, you got to watch this series, watch that series. I hope you saw this movie. I hope you watch that series. Okay, then all this stuff is going to be mentioned in the movie, and then watch the next movie. You got to watch these next three series, and then that last movie. And it's cool, when it's like, okay, the movie's kind of connecting. It's kind of like Easter eggy or whatever. But it's like if people are like blanked out or left out, or they're not gonna understand it. Like you got to realize they're trying to feed this casual audience. So it's like the casual audience is not gonna get this in depth. This is what your niche audience for comic books would love, but you kind of push them aside when you make things for the casuals. So
Hmm.
that's kind of where I feel like they are right now.
Well, I hope I
But
enjoy the Thunderbolts all the same.
that kind of leads into what we're talking about today. But no, I mean, like I said, I hope people do enjoy it, and I mean, like it's not like I said, I don't think anybody thought it was bad. And I don't think we wanted it to be bad or anything like that, but it's kind of just a movie that like it's a movie. And what do the kids say? It's one of the movies of all time, something like that. Yeah, so it's
They
like
say that about everything.
it's
They
kind of
said
like
Winnie the Pooh was the number one movie in America at one point in our lives.
no, not number one, but they say like it's one of the. You know how they say like it's just there. Like yeah, it's one of the games of all time. Well, yeah, it's one of the movies of all. Like it was one of them. It wasn't the best. It wasn't the worst. It just was. It was a movie. It was what it was. Like
Sounds like you get extra
it's
credit for just
there.
existing.
Yeah, it's there. It's there. So I mean, nah, it's all right. But yeah, no, I watched that. Been watching some other stuff like that. What you playing right now?
Well, I'm in a filler month right now for May, so I'm just playing a lot of like just older titles that I haven't got around to touch. Last week was like dancing rhythm games, so like Miku and Super Beat Sonic. I believe this week is a fighting week, so we got like Sparking Zero and Kill la Kill, them's fighting herds, which I really kind of want to get back into because I was getting like decent at it, and then I just stopped playing it. And then I think week 3 is like a crime syndicate kind of thing. So we got like Grand Theft Auto and Crime Boss and maybe Battlefield. And then I think I'm back to the regular story driven games in June.
Okay. So you finished Guardians?
No, I have not finished Guardians. I think I got to chapter 8, I think. Might have been 8 or 9. I'm definitely further in it than I thought I would get by the time I went on this filler. But yeah. Yeah, I'm at a really good spot in Guardians.
Okay. Okay. How you liking it so far? I know you said one of the voice
It's pretty
actors
good.
came
It's
in on
pretty
one
good
of
so
the
far.
stream.
It's pretty good so far.
Yeah.
It's pretty good so far. It'll definitely enhance the experience for the movies, even though from what I've seen of the movies depictions of this group, it's different from the game's presentation of it, but there's a lot of striking similarities, so I don't feel completely lost in the sauce. Like their take on like, just space and the final frontier and just all these, kooky and goofy characters, it's just I don't know, it just feels it's enough and it isn't like confusing or it isn't like the ceiling's too high to get into or the floor's too low to invest in. So Guardians is like a good 7 to 8 right now for me.
Yeah, I think Guardians the game kind of did what the Arkham games did with Batman. And I guess you could say what the Spider-Man games did with Spider-Man. They take from the comics, they take from the movies, they take from the cartoons, and kind of create like a mismatch of all of that. I mean, as far as like lore and stories and stuff like that, the characters are pretty much like how they are and things. Like sometimes when I hear Rocket in the game, I can like close my eyes and imagine like yeah, that's Bradley Cooper doing the voice. Groot is gonna be Groot. Um, but I think this Groot is more, how do you say, like he emotes more than Vin Diesel. I think Vin Diesel, because Vin Diesel got the Vin Diesel voice, the monotone. But this Groot kind of goes from
Wow, I didn't
different
even
and
know
whatever.
Vin Diesel was Groot. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, Vin Diesel does Groot. Yeah, because I mean it's just the voice. He's a tree. It's CGI, but yeah, he's just a voice. But he just says the same. He says the same thing in the same way most of the times or whatever. But yeah, no, everybody is pretty much like pretty much themselves. I mean, Gamora is a bit more. She's a bit more lighthearted in the game than in the movies. And the only one that's really drastically different is like Mantis. But I mean, Mantis is like a side in the game. You see Mantis already in the game, right? You got to her.
I did see Mantis. She was definitely a lot.
Okay, yeah, she's yeah. So she's very different, but I like that because I like this Mantis better, honestly. Um, I like movie Mantis too, but I like this Mantis. This was a breath of fresh air. I didn't know this about Mantis because the movies was the first time I was ever introduced to the Guardians, and I loved that. I loved them. That was a great movie. Some of my favorite movies, but yeah, no, definitely was good for what
Okay.
they did. But yeah, all right then. So that's good. Good. Everything is progressing well. Again, homies over there on Twitch, twitch.tv_Pandorum X, right?
No. Pandorum
No,
underscore X. No underscore at the start.
that's what I said.
No, you said twitch.tv/_ Pandorum X.
Well, whatever. It's in the thing I'm jiggy anyway.
It is a link. It is out there if one
Yeah.
goes looking for it. But yeah,
Yes,
so
that's all.
with all of that being said, at 15 minutes in, Lenny Green, what do you
Get
have for
off
us
my
today?
get off my back.
Oh, you stink.
Anyway, um, So today, we supposed to do we owe like a serious topic, but I couldn't really find nothing serious to get into that wasn't gonna rock the boat too much. So I mean, we're gonna jump around for a bit. Gotta talk about it because it just happened recently. What do you think about the Grand Theft Auto trailer? You seen that yet?
Yeah, I did see
So
it,
what you think?
and I don't know. It feels like usually in like Broadway's, you get that first segment before the actual music starts, which is like the overture, just kind of giving you a heads up of like what is to come in this play that you're about to see, or like the glossary in a book, table of contents type of feeling. So this second trailer felt a lot. It says a lot, but then it doesn't say anything at the same time, other than like, yeah, like if you're into this type of thing, and you're not buying into the hype, I think you're gonna be in for a good time. So I definitely liked it more than the first trailer. I liked it more than the first trailer.
Me too. That was my sentiments because I was gonna say like, not that I was gonna wildly disagree or anything, but I was gonna say like, yeah, when I watched the first trailer, I was completely like, okay, we don't got no release date, we don't got this, we don't got that, um, whatever. And then you remember, I don't know if you remember or not, but at that time I was like, yeah, I think I'm very worried about Grand Theft Auto 6. I think it has flop potential. Or not flop potential, but like, it's probably not gonna live up to the hype. And they was changing the heads of the creative and the studio and this and that, or the team who makes it and this and that. So I was really concerned, and they was really greedy. So I was thinking that was gonna leak into the game, and so I really wasn't feeling it. And then the trailer came on, I was just like, whatever. And then when this one came on, I gotta say, like, I thought I was gonna hold on to the same feelings of just like, whatever, it's not coming out till next year, so I don't really care anyway. But I watched it a few times, and while I'm not as crazy as some of these other people that want to go over all of the details and the things you might have missed and this and that and whatever, I've watched it a few times, and I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it now. I felt like this one pulled me in a little bit
Yeah,
more.
it feels like there's a real story to tell this time around. Not saying that
Yeah.
GTA 5 didn't, but I think with three characters it did kind of get lost a bit every now and then. Um, and then you just run into that issue of like, well, out of the three, which one do you like the most, and which one do you resonate with the most story wise? But I think just having two characters can really just focus it in a way that's a lot more digestible versus just three cast of characters and then what each one has to deal with in terms of their adversaries. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I might get it the same week it comes out, but I definitely not like oh yeah, I gotta buy this day one.
Well, I mean, in defense of fire, because I'm not really a critic of. I wish that it could have did more, but I feel like five, because five is like a counter, or five was made with a counter in mind to what four was, because they was facing some distaste for the heaviness of GTA 4, and they felt like they had to course correct that a little bit. Um, I think that probably hurt five, because I mean, as far as terms of like antagonists and stuff like that, and sticking to the story and whatever. Actually, I was telling a friend of mine when I was like, yeah, it was like, they was like, well, what do you think about this, and how do you think about that's gonna go, and this game and other games? And I was like, well, I haven't really seen anything since like four, where it was just like you got to make a choice, you got to stick with it. Because five kind of, I heard five did, you get to the end, you got option A, you got option B. I heard in the beginning, which is funny because I had it in the beginning, but I think I took like a long time to beat it. But I heard in the beginning, like you could only pick option A or option B, and then option C got like patched in later or something like that.
Oh,
Um, and I was like, yeah, see, if they would have stuck to that, where you gotta pick and you gotta stick with it or whatever, like that probably would have made it more memorable in my mind. It really stuck the landing. But to go option C is like pretty much you get off scotch free and everybody rides off happy into the sunset. And I mean, giving people the option C to pick, like who's not gonna pick option C unless you have to do it for like completionists, or you want to see what the other enders do. But everybody's pretty much gonna ride out on option C. So story wise, I felt like, yeah, it wasn't as strong as its predecessor. But I think that I was thinking, I think it's funny that you think of the trailer as like a glossary, or like it showed, but it didn't really tell anything. Because these people, I mean, not these people talk to me about it, and they're like, oh, I think this, or I think it says that. People run wild with speculation and theories
Mm-hmm.
and whatever. I'm like, where do you even get that from? Well, I think one of them is like a snitch, and one of them is working with the cops, and I'm like, wait, what did y'all see that y'all even got that? And they're pointing at things out like, oh, the registry at the prison or whatever, when he was coming to pick her up, said he'd seen him before and this and that and whatever. And I'm just like,
It
huh.
could. Listen, it very well could be, but
No,
again,
that's
trying
what
to
I said.
trying to
I said
do
it's
all of that
possible.
before it even comes out, like people already trying to build their narratives before the main narrative even comes out. That's where I'm just kind of like, all right, like I'll entertain the theories and whatnot, but after a certain point, it's like, all right, well, I just gotta wait till the actual genuine article comes out, so we can go off of that instead of just speculating. I love what
Yeah.
ifs, but
And if they're fun conversations to have, nothing else better is going on. But that's what I was saying. I was like, I kind of want to like see the story for the story itself. Like, okay, cool, they're trying to do this and they're trying to do that. I don't really want to look at it as like, well, when is a double cross coming? Or, oh, this person's doing this, so they might be trying to do the setup. Because I mean, um, what game was it? I think it was Sleeping Dogs. You ever play Sleeping Dogs before?
I haven't. No.
Oh, okay. So there's something in Sleeping Dogs, and then they tell you what it is. Like, if you watch the trailer, what's cracking with it already. And so I was like, man, I would feel better if like I knew that turn wasn't coming. Um, because I would just feel like I'm, doing the story the way it's supposed to be instead of it building up to what's actually going to happen in the end anyway. So yeah, I kind of want to do that with six, where it's just like, yeah, I just want to enjoy it for what it is, and not know that that's the twist that's coming. But yeah, now seeing the trailer and I seen the videos of people breaking down like the graphics and how it's gonna run and all of the details that Rockstar put in, and I mean, credit to Rockstar, they are very, very detail oriented. They were very detail oriented in like 4 or 5, um, Red Dead Redemption 2, and their commitment to the minor details that a lot of things gloss over. It actually like makes me happy to see that because like I said, with Take Two doing all of the stuff that it's been doing since Grand Theft Auto 5 has been out, I would have thought this would have been a total like drain your pocket type of thing and not really give you much in return. But it seems like they are putting in a quality product. I'm not gonna go too far with that because it could be a lot of things they're glossing over. We're just gonna have to wait and see. But yeah, no, I'm excited. It got me excited.
Sweet.
This second trailer got me into it. But that being said, so now that we got that out the way, I wanted to ask or talk to you this week about gatekeeping. I don't think I mean, we think we touched upon it, but we didn't dive into it before around these parts. So, gather what your opinion is on gatekeeping, and well, in a broad sense, and then you could take it to specific senses. Do you think it's like good? Do you think it's good in some areas and not good in some areas, or good in some ways and not good in some ways? Necessary, unnecessary. What you think about that?
It has its moments, but in most cases, it's kind of preferred to have them up so you don't get the wrong people into the space. Um, and I think ultimately, at the end of it all, if someone does get into the space and their intentions are good, it's technically fine. But if they get into the space and their intentions are bad, it's going to spoil it from within. So I think it does come down to like how that gate being kept is perceived. Where if like you want to get into I don't know, Dark Souls, but 80% of the people there are just a bunch of tryhards that will judge the way you play, whether it's a smart build or a bad build or an experimental build or a crazy build. Um, it comes down to the people within that community, and then it also comes down to how the person trying to get into the community will take that. Now, again, if they're well intent, then I don't think that person's going to take it too harshly, and they'll probably just move on to the next thing, or they'll just carve out their own group, and then you'll have another group that will be building upon itself to then eventually become gate kept when it gets big enough at some point. And then if you get the people who are bad intent in trying to get into this group, and they want to have these builds or have this particular playstyle to like prove a point, to down someone, to demean them, I don't think it's going to go far. And if they end up getting in the space ultimately, then it's just gonna rot it out from within. So I don't really feel too strongly or sway in one way for gatekeeping or the other. It's just, for me, it's always going to be that it comes down to the person on both sides.
So when you say like getting into the spaces, or how they're like tryhards, or whatever the case may be, would it be like? Because I mean, I'm not sure if somebody who's getting on somebody's I understand what you're saying, like getting on their build or whatever the case may be. I don't know if they're like gatekeeping so much as they just want somebody to play the game the way that they want them to play the game. Like I imagine, like you say, like how you say you play Final Fantasy or something like that on your stream, and
Mm-hmm.
then somebody will come in like, oh, well, how come you don't have this equipped, and why don't you make this person that type, or this or that or whatever, and whatever, because they probably either played the game 20 times and they figured that out, or they read an article online, or they watched the walkthrough and they feel like they want to think, because sometimes that is somebody just trying to show you, not really show you, but just come in there and show off, like, this is how much knowledge that I have on this game, and like you should listen to me and look at how
Yeah,
much I know about
sometimes.
this crap or
But
whatever.
again, if it's coming down to the person who's hearing all of that and they're trying to give that person the benefit of the doubt, like if someone came into me, like, which I've had before, I just either go, okay, either they're just passive aggressively trying to show me that they got it like that, or they're autistic and they just really, really love talking about these key aspects in Final Fantasy. But it also comes with this expectation of, well, I've played this thing so many times and I really loved it, so there's got to be someone else out there that loves it just as much as I do, if not more. And when you see that one random person on like a Thursday night from like 1 to 3 playing that one thing that you really like, you just can't help but feel like, oh my gosh, the stars aligned. This streamer's for me. And then they get past like 6 ads and they're like, I love Final Fantasy so much. And it's like, oh, that's cool. I think it's all right. Um, but again, now it's on the person who just joined in to not take offense to that. But if they do, then again, why were you going into that person with a particular expectation, or what was the intent in trying to talk to this person about this thing that you like? Did you want to talk to them because you just wanted to keep it level? Did you want to talk to them about it because you're both really uber into this, or did you get into it because you just want to whip it all out on the table and be like, yeah, I know all this stuff and you don't? Blap and I actually had a stream yesterday. Well, he was streaming, I was just a guest in it, where we were talking about Power Rangers, and we really got into the nitty gritty about like the morphing grid and the different Zord customizations and how they translate well into toys and stuff like that. So it's casual to a certain level, but then it gets into like these levels that like a casual audience would kind of get off the train for, because we, most normal people, I would even say myself included, really just only know it from like the theme songs, the different outfits, what type of Zords they're going to be using for that particular season. But when you get into like the Sentai-esque sides of it, or the Gunpla, and who comes back on the cast after 15 years have passed and bringing back X Rangers from X series, it's just like your mileage is going to vary from people who know it like that, so I don't personally, I try not to take offense to it, because I can just control myself and how I feel about something that I engage with. But when trying to do that in real time with someone else, it can be a bit of a square dance, because you just don't know what the person is like. Some people put this stuff way too close to their identity and their personality, where if you talk about it in any shape or form, they think you're coming after them. And now you're getting into another battle where you're trying to tell them and separate the two, like, no, I'm just talking about this particular aspect of it, not you. And then once you clear that front, now you can go back into talking about it. But it just constantly weaves in and out, to the point where you're just like, well, what are we really talking about here? Are we talking about why we like Harry Potter, or are we talking about why we don't like J.K. Rowling?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's how I feel about it. That was a lot of
So yeah,
ranting.
no, I mean, no, that's good because I mean, that's that's what it is. But no, I mean, like yeah, no, yeah, I get that. Was like different levels to it and stuff like that. But I mean, more so is just like okay, so basically, I think I've said this to you before. I kind of feel like I used to be very eager to get people into like the hobby of like gaming or video gaming or whatever. If somebody was just like slightly interested, and then I'm like, all right, cool. What do you need? What do you want to know? This, that, and whatever. And do you need help with getting into it and this and that, and what is the best for this? What do you like for that? What have you? And I feel like as after the pandemic, when everybody was at home and nothing, they couldn't go nowhere, they didn't have nothing to do. Like it really boomed. But I mean, it was always on the up before then anyway. But that's when it like really, really, really boomed.
Hmm.
And anybody who like wasn't interested, like financially wise and like company wise, they had to get interested because they just really had to see how much money this industry was making. And I feel like now that the casual person is into it and it's such a profitable thing, that now that we have all of the businesses and the numbers guys and the money guys into it, uh, it's gotten way worse. Like the quality of it has gotten way worse and everything has gotten way worse because I think I was telling it to somebody, maybe it was my mother. Like it used to just be like gaming, people who made games, people who invested in games or whatever. Like the money has always been there, but I feel like the company's kind of just like, yeah, let's throw a little bit of money into this thing, and like we'll see if it does well or whatever, or just like write off or this or that or whatever. And we don't really expect much to come from like the video game industry, the video game section. You heard stories about like actors not taking the voice acting roles serious, like Ray Liotta on Fight City. Like, what did record for this video game? Like, what is it? I don't really know what it is. Whatever. And the guy that does Avery, whatever his name is for Vice City 2, but I can't remember the actor's name. But he was a hassle to work with, and some of these people just really didn't care. And now it's this huge thing. But since it's so controlled by the money now, you have a bunch of people calling shots. That again, kind of like what I was saying with Marvel, they're not really interested in like the fans of games, but they're just so much trying to figure out how we milk this cow for the cash. So I feel like I used to be the biggest person against like keeping people out and this and that or whatever. Like, nah, bring everybody in, let everybody get down with the program, whatever. But I don't think it really helped the hobby, none, in my opinion.
Yeah, but why you want to get someone into gaming and then why a gigantic corporation wants to get them into gaming is just two different things. And, we're kind of so far removed from just like the corporation headquarters of it that we can only really influence the change from a person to person perspective. Like, I would have never gotten into Harry Potter if, my girlfriend didn't want to watch it on a random Thursday afternoon, I probably would have gotten to it at some point, but I would have been so, I mean, I'm technically already late to it, but to be even later late to the party, um, that would have just happened because I just had no inkling, no desire from what I've seen in passing and on the surface and in promotional material, just out existing in the world. It just never struck me as something that I would be interested in. But because a person was, kind enough and charitable enough to be like, hey, like I just want to watch this thing with you because I think you would like it, given what I know about you and what I see that you like, it's showing to me that there's this level of observation that comes off as like very like, oh, this feels like it's coming out of care and not out of I'm trying to win you to my side. And like I said earlier, it's enjoyable. I am liking it. So I think it shouldn't stop you from having to still bring people into the space if you show them the good aspects of it. Because if you show them what's good about it and they get into the space because of your word and they see something bad about it, at least they know that there's a framework out there to reference on, It's kind of like how, like, if we're going back to parenting, right? Having good parents in the household can help normalize a lot of things and what to look out for when you see something in someone else's family or structure that comes off as like, well, that doesn't seem right, or you could have been able to say something about that at that time, or you can talk about it now, type of thing. It's like, because you know what to look for because you had good examples, it's really hard to like knock you down or sway you in one way or the other.
So yeah, I agree with that, but not so much as in like the where we come in from and where the business is coming from. But it's kind of like what you say, like when you're like, oh, if we feel like things is going in the wrong direction, then we gotta kind of like vote with our wallets or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, just don't buy it if it's not good anymore, this or that or whatever. Like, I feel like the thing, like if you look at something big, like like you could say the Marvel movies, you could say Star Wars, you could say Call of Duty or whatever the case may be. When you look at, big things like that that are generally kind of like too big to fail, unless they really like make it so that it's designed for them to fail. Um, you're not gonna get the people to vote with their wallets because it's like you have two sets. You have like a subset or subsets of fans that are looking at it for different things. Like me and you, the way that me and you look at like games and movies and stuff like that is different from how the person is just like, yeah, I just want to turn the game on and just mindlessly play it is looking at it, or the people who's just like, yeah, well, whatever. And I feel like, nowadays we have so many people in these spaces that are just like, whatever. And you try to tell them like, yo, like, this is not going in the direction, like, we kind of need to try to pull it back. And I know you're very detached with the whole back up your saves and just play the things that pertain to you and just do your own thing and don't get involved and whatever. But I guess like the bleeding heart in me that cares too much, that's kind of just like, well, how do we like fix it? How do we get it back to where it should go, where it should be, like whatever. So that's why I did the thing with Hogwarts Legacy, because like, yeah, man, these people should be able to play this Harry Potter game that they've been waiting forever to play without people's politics getting into it, or whatever the case may be. People trying to push that stuff into the game, because that's another problem too, is that when something becomes popular, you have all these people in this day and age trying to ride the wave or the trend. Everybody's chasing the trend.
Yeah, you're always
So
going to
you
have
have
the
all these
cool
people.
kids trying to jump on the set, trying to be like, yeah, I was always down there for it. That's just, I don't know, that's just social. It's primal at this point. So if you know why you like it and you're not really worried about anyone else, people will see your energy and your care to this and be like, hey, like, what are you doing over here? Like, why do you like this thing so much? I feel like anyone who's like willing to like actually give this medium a chance and take the time to like be in its reverence and respect it, you're gonna find the right people by default. But if you keep catching,
Absolutely.
all these hornets who are just into it for like the graphics, or heck, even the people who are just so just wrapped in story, like I can only play single player games. Like there's some good multiplayer games out there too. There are some good, couch co-op, play with your friends, have a good time. Like, you know, it- gaming is just so diversified, and there's so many ways that a game can be played within the game that if you're just looking at it from one angle, you're only going to go so far with it.
Yep. I can get behind that, and that's why I never really been those type of people that be like. Now, I mean, there's a little bit in me that when somebody's like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm really big into games. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, what games do you play? Because I'm like, I'm trying to. Now, I know some people will ask that as like, your status check. Like, well, what kind of games do you play? And if you say like, well, I play like Call of Duty, and you're just like, man, you're not a gamer. Everybody plays Call of Duty. That doesn't count. Like, no, it's not like that. Or, oh, you play Candy Crush? Well, that doesn't count because that's not like a real game. So it's not really like that. But there's a little bit of like, uh, disappointment when it's just like, oh, that's what you play. But that's what it becomes like, all right, well, that's what you play. Play what you play what makes you happy. Obviously, that's the whole point of it. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be a hobby. It's supposed to be a pastime. But
Yeah, I kind of equate
yeah.
it to
So
like how people talk about like different car builds and stuff like that. It's just like, yeah, I drive a Honda Civic. Yeah, well, I got a Hellcat with a Scat Pack, and it's like okay, we still getting
yeah,
to our
and
job in the
yeah,
same
and
capacity.
yeah. So some people are really into it. Like, I got this kind of chassis, and I got this engine in there, and I got these set of speakers in there too with this and that and whatever, and I get this kind of performance. It's like, yeah, I respect people's passion. You know what I'm saying? Like, so if somebody's really passionate about cars and they want to, talk about their build, they want to talk about, what they're running in their car and this and that or whatever. Respect. I'm just not the person to really have that conversation with. Like when it comes to like, video games or whatever, like, yeah, I'm down to have that kind of conversation or whatever. Or it could even be the same thing. Like when they get to talking about their PC specs and stuff like that, it's kind of like, you kind of, once you get past like the graphic card or what, you kind of lost me. Like, I don't really know the technical terms and the technical specs and this and that and whatever.
Yeah,
And then they're going to look at me like,
that's what you sign yourself up for when you still apply yourself to that same principle of like, well, I do this thing, but how do you do it? You can always keep it lighthearted and fun, but there's just some people out there that are just kind of like you said, oh, you play Call of Duty and you ain't really about it. But it's like, who's to say? It's just but it's so easy to fall into, but it's just like it creeps up on you. Sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing it, but it's just like that ooga booga part in our brain where it's like we must show them why we are the way we are.
Well, no, but I mean, like, because the people who be fronting get on. So, like, I tell you an instance. Like, I was in one of my other jobs. I learned that I gotta watch how I go about this because if somebody catches this, they could be like, oh yeah, you're talking about me, whatever, get all upset. So I gotta be vague. But in one of the spots that I was working at, there was this lady who came up to me, and she was asking me about, you gotta like do like a profile or whatever for something that they was doing with the job or whatever. And I was kind of like not rocking with it, but I was like, all right, whatever, I'll do what I gotta do. And so she was like, all right, so tell me this, tell me that, your name, this, that, whatever. And then she was like, so what is like some hobbies that you have? And I was like, I just said gaming because I was kind of disinterested anyway. And then I guess because she had like social problems before she got in the position that she was in, she kind of like took that and ran with it. She was like, oh, gaming? Oh, me too, And then she kind of was like, before I did this, I was like a streamer. I'm not gonna tell you who I was, but like I had like she said she's actually had like a medium bass or something like that, and she used to do it like professionally or whatever, and this and that or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I bit and I gave into the conversation. I was like, oh wow. I was like, I don't know. Me personally, if I was you, I wouldn't have quit doing that to come do this. Like I think that's crazy. It was like a joke or whatever, but I mean I was also kind of serious because if I was able to do that professionally, I wouldn't have left that to do the job. That was how I felt. She felt differently because she was there. So she was like, yeah. And then she was like, so what? And she was like, what? So she told me, she was like, yeah, I had to because it was good for her personally. But and then we was talking about what kind of game she played, and she was like, oh, I play shooters and this and that and whatever. I was like, all right, cool. And she was like, I was like, what kind of shooters or whatever? Because not my strongest thing, but I know a few of them. And then she said something, and she ended up saying like Overwatch. She was like, yeah. She's like, yeah, I played Overwatch and thing. Like I played it. And she was trying to say like she played not professionally, but she was like on the level of a pro or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, cool. I was like, so who did you use? Like, who did you main? And then she was like, I made the sniper, which kind of caught me off guard. You know what I mean? It's like I made the sniper. Like obviously, me and you know, like, all right, you made the sniper, so you either talking about like Widowmaker, Ash, or you wouldn't say sniper and be talking about like Ana. But so I'm thinking like Widowmaker or Ash. But I was like, why didn't she just say Widowmaker or Ash?
And well, yeah, because like
which one?
It in a weird way.
The sniper, the sniper character, and I'm like, but you won't say, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
I'm not even trying to catch her, but at the
right,
same
but
time,
you're starting to see an opportunity present itself. But at the same time, it's just kind of like just because we know the names of like all 46 heroes or however many there are, doesn't mean it's going to be like that for everyone across the board. Like my dad understands comics, right? Like he understands superhero as a genre, but when you start to get into like the tax brass of it and just how deep it can really go iceberg style, There are just some people who are just they just don't care. They don't care to remember it. And I'm like that sometimes too. I can talk to you about why I really, really like Honkai Star Rail, and I can tell you why I really, really dislike Honkai Star Rail. But at the same time, I'm just not going to keep up with every single factoid that drops in that game because, dude, I don't care. I'm hungry. I want to go eat. Or it's 11 o'clock. I got to go work. I got to go pay bills. I got stuff to do that is way more important to me than just trying to figure out, this is either Widowmaker or this is Anna. It's whatever. But the way I saw it as the conversation was going before she kind of, couldn't figure out the name of someone, it sounded like she was kind of inviting you into that aspect of her community. She was opening the gate for you a bit to let you in to see like, hey, like this is a peek into what I do, and this is why I like it because I know that you do it too, and I want to share this common ground with you. Like that's where you can, in this sense, win the person to your side. But to get kind of hung up on the aspect of whether they can remember the name or not, well, I get it because it's just a slam dunk. I feel it. You know what I'm saying? But it's just kind of like, I've had moments like that too, where I'm just kind of like, hey, listen, if you don't know the name of a character or you don't know this particular aspect of the game or why a Star Wars game is like really, really good, that doesn't mean you still can't enjoy it. Um, but yeah, it's all dependent on how you want to take that interaction. And
But I mean, as I'm juggling it, you gotta like look like you get it a bit as you see what I'm like. And again, mind you, like as I'm telling you the story, I wasn't trying to catch her. Like I was just like as you said, she was trying to extend. Like if you want to say she was trying to extend the branch, I'm also trying to extend the branch. But I kind of need you like to give me something to work with. You know what I'm saying?
right, but
I'm
then
saying,
why can't
all
you
right,
just be
who
like,
did you?
oh, do you
Because
mean
when you
Widowmaker or do you mean Anna? And if she goes, yeah,
well,
that's who
nah,
I mean,
because when you
now you
when you
can go
saying
even
like when
further
you
with it.
saying like when you're saying like I used to play the game like a pro, like I'm at a pro level. It's like all right, like my so like if she said I used to play like off Overwatch off and on, like I used to play around with it, or like my brother showed like because when I have these conversations with people where they're like, oh yeah, I play a little bit, or they're like playfully, oh I'll beat you, but I only play every now and then. Like I play Mortal Kombat every now and then, or I play Tekken every now and then. I use the girl with the Chinese dress. Or I use the girl with the pigtails in Street Fighter, the Chinese buns in Street Fighter. It's like, all right, I get it. You don't really play. That's Chun Li. All right, cool. No problem thing. But when you tell me, yeah, I'm like a pro,
Yeah, but
but
just
then
because
you
someone
don't.
says they're a pro doesn't mean they understand every aspect of it. That's usually the stigma that comes with it because of what we've seen. But just because someone says they're a pro, in most cases, when an average person says they're a pro, it just means that they're good at it, just a bit above average, right? They're either a mid diamond or they're a low grandmaster. But to actually be like a professional about this, where you're playing it 8 hours a day, you're in the training room, you have a regimen, you have a schedule, you have like I got to be up at 8 to 8:45 to be practicing like my no scope shots. Like that's when you really get into like the professional side of it.
Well,
And
that's
even
kind of that's kind of what she made it seem like she was doing. Like that's she made
but
it seem like
making it seem
she was
like and then
professionally
actually
playing
being
and
that thing,
streaming
it's
because she
just
had to.
because then I would have taken that conversation into an aspect of, well, then why did you go from that to this? What made you think that like
That's what I said. And I mean, I can't. I'm trying. I could tell you off of this exactly what she said, but I'm trying not to get super deep because it's a broad story. Now, if I get super detailed with it, people start pinpointing the facts, and they be like, "Ah, he's talking about this person." You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm keeping it vague because like I'm trying not to like give it to who it is. But she told me why she had to, because that's why I told you when she told me she was like, I stopped doing that. Like I was a pro streamer. Like I had that life. Like I was streaming full time and this and that and whatever. And I was, I was pretty. She was like, oh yeah, I was pretty like mid level, and I had like a big name. Like you would know it if I told you. And at that time, I was like, I kind of doubted because I was just getting into like Twitch. Like I really only knew you and a few other people that I personally like, but I didn't really know the big name streamers at that point in time. And I still kind of don't because I don't really care like that. But I mean, like she was like, "Oh, you would know, but I'm not gonna tell you like who." So it's like you're telling me, but you don't want to tell me at the same time. So it's like, all right, I won't bite on that, or I can't really ask her like that if that's where you're coming from. And then she was like about the thing with the game. She was trying to make it seem like, well, it wasn't really like my choice, but it was kind of like I had to do it, but I did it, and this and that and whatever. So it's like, all right, I get you might not have love for the game, so like I'm not looking at you like you have love for the game or whatever. Like you seem like you want to leave it alone. But when you're telling me like, all right, I'm like a pro, if you're like a pro, and again, it's not like, oh well, I was the tank. All right, there's like quite a number of tanks there. So, if you change it up, I don't expect you to know, the name of every single tank you use. Or I was the damage person. When you tell me you're the pro and you tell me you're the sniper, and there's only two snipers, and you kind of looking at me like that's all the info you got. It's like, like with you, right? You would be like, all the stories to these characters, probably minus the new ones and maybe even some of the new ones. You got into the lore, you know all of this and that and whatever, the story behind the story. I don't. So we're obviously at different levels of interest when it comes to like Overwatch. But if I know like who the sniper characters are, and this person is telling me they're a pro, so now I'm looking at you like somebody who like bangs this game out. Like you said, you get up, you practice your shots, you probably got a rhythm, you probably got a this and that or whatever. If you click Widowmaker over and over and over and over and over again, like, and you're on comms and you're on this and that or whatever, like there's so much that goes into like being a pro or pro-ish on Overwatch that's almost like, how can you not know? Is like my mindset. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I hear it, but I don't. When someone says that they're a pro, unless I see them with like an actual jersey somewhere in their background, or I turn on the TV at some random point and I see that person, you're not a pro. You're really good at the game, but you're not a pro. I feel like that would be like
Right.
semi-pro, but
Mm-hmm.
no. And then again, like how we get into like these different fronts of the conversation, someone is saying that they're a pro, but they will only give you so much, so it doesn't identify them as said thing. So now you're kind of in like this, are you pulling my chain type of scenario? Because I've had people like that in my
Yep.
job where they just kind of talk themselves up, or they can just say something so out of field because like who's gonna challenge them on it right then and there, right? I'm only in here to talk to you because we're near the bubbler for like 5 seconds, right? And then we're going on about our shift.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes people do that because it's just kind of like, well, what else is going on in my life right now? What else is going on in this conversation in particular that I can use to, give it a little more heightened? And sometimes people just choose to use themselves because who's going to, in their way of thinking, who's going to know them better than themselves? You know, but when you
Right.
choose a topic about something that you're well versed in, it happens. People go, "Oh, you drive a Cadillac, so you must know about the Lyric and the Celeste, or just all these different cars." And it's like, I know about them, but I don't really care about like the Blackwing like that. Beast of a car, crazy horsepower performance. That thing is a Hellcat on wheels. But I like a different aspect of Cadillac and not so much of its performance, but the cars of old in the mid 2000s, and that's just where I'm at. But I can say that, have it be questioned at me, and then still do the back and forth. People who try to do that whole like, oh well, did you hear about this thing? Yeah, 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 I heard about that. Yeah, really? So like, what did you think of it? What did I think of what? Like, it's like when once you go into that territory, you're in uncharted territory because you're now using yourself as the integral piece of getting that conversation going. And once you fail in that, you're going to feel like you're being attacked because you really did just step into a ring and you have no course of action of what to do and how to do it. But I think what that conversation you had with that person was still salvageable. But I'm just kind of like, listen, if you don't know if it's Widowmaker or Ana, hey, listen, I'm not going to like, cut your feet off. I'm going to put them to the fire and I'm going to play fun at you. But like, it can always be spun, you know?
Which is why I kind of just like let it go at that point. But like it's still kind of like, even when I told the story to like my homegirl, who's like my sister, she was kind of like, yeah, she was probably trying to like impress you or like connect with you, and I was like, right, which is why I gave her grace. Like I understand, like, oh, I'm the whatever, and we don't really get along. Not that we, don't like each other, but we don't really have real conversations with each other. And she wants to be like a sociable person, so she's like, all right, this is a way for me to like connect with Bernard. But the thing about Bernard is like Bernard respects like authenticity. So it's like I'd rather have somebody come and tell me that they don't know about video games and they want me to like tell them why I like it or whatever, this and that, than to have somebody like fake like it and then try to be like,
But
yeah, I'm
but
trying to,
unfortunately,
because
you're
it,
gonna
it
meet people like that. You're gonna meet the jocks and the popular kids who are just kind of like, I recognize that I'm not in my element here, but I can talk to someone who I don't feel so intimidated by that I can actually have a conversation with them. Dude, it happens, especially in the workplace. It's so common in the workplace. I get people who are just kind of like, hey, like you play video games, so you're good with computers, right? It's like that seems like a
No, well,
gross
me personally, no.
oversimplification, but I know some things, but it's like once you go a bit past the GUI, right? I'm just kind of like, all right, like it functions or it doesn't function. You
Yeah,
got 20
because
tabs open or you don't. But
yeah,
there's
'cause I
just
know
some people that
people
are like that.
who don't play video games, but they're wizards at computers. So yeah, they don't
Yeah.
exactly have to correlate, but that's what I'm saying. Is like when you say it, and that's what I'm saying. Like the whole thing is just like you trying to put stars in my eyes, but I'm not really the right person. You're like, oh yeah, I used to be like a full time streamer and then this and that and whatever, and that's like, all right, cool. I'm not really jacking it for you, but okay. And she's like, that and that, and I used to play this. Oh yeah, I play Overwatch, and I was like pro at it and this and that and whatever, but I played the sniper character, but I can't tell you if it's Widowmaker or if it's Ash. But I mean, I used to play the sniper character. It was like, oh, I mean, all
Listen,
right, cool.
I'm not, it's so weird because like I get it, but at the same time, I'm just kind of like, I'm not going to hold them for that. I already know that there's just like, there are so many characters that are just so similar to characters like that, that just the everyday person really isn't going to remember that, whether you're a pro or not. Now who knows how long it's been since they've been playing Overwatch, right? It's, it can be lost on them if they're really not looking for it. But if that be where that person does or dies, it's just kind of like, all right, well, I guess that's where the conversation is going to go, and the gates will start to close on you because you guys can't work past that one aspect of it. Now, again, if she's doing it with the intent to, like you said, put stars in your eyes, but you're looking at it with the intent because you want authenticity, okay, who's got the better stance in this case? But then how can one modulate to get on the level of the other, and then try to just bridge them into like, hey, you know, maybe don't say you're really, really, really good at something like this, or you can just go floor it with how much knowledge you know about it and just be kind of like, yeah, well, I play Widowmaker, but then I know a good Genji that can counter her, or if I'm going up against someone who's a Genji, I got a Winston who can counter him because I can like double jump that pack, go into my ult, get the reset off of my kit. Then they're starting to go like, oh wow, like this person knows a lot. I was like, oh. And then they start to be like,
Well,
okay, do I
yeah.
play into this or do I just kind of pull out? You can do that too, but it's how you do it, it's how you say it, and your intent behind saying it to be like, I know just as much as you do, if not more. Let's actually have a conversation. Let's be authentic about it. But no, two characters and conversation.
Well, no, I mean it wasn't the end because then she went on to then she went on to talk because she's like a horror fan, so I think she's really into like Silent Hill. So when she was talking about like Silent Hill, it was like, and that's why I said, yeah, I don't really know about Silent Hill because I'm not really into horror. So that's why I was just like, they would be like, yeah, I know a lot about Silent Hill and like, no. But and again, like it's not really like it's not. I use that to say is like some people will do the whole thing of like, yeah, I'm like a real gamer. It kind of reminded me of that stuff that you do when you like. Well, I don't know if you ever did it, but like when you're like younger and you're like trying to show off to people when they're like, "Yo, I was up grinding all night on Call of Duty and multiplayer, or whatever, and I got prestige and I got the whatever colored guns and this and that or whatever, and I only had the game for like 3-4 days and this and that or whatever." Knowing that that's probably cap or whatever the case may be, or maybe it's not cap, but
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
even if
like.
it's not the flex you think it is, but to tell that to someone who doesn't know anything else in the world, it's I don't want to say it's a losing battle, but it's really not important at the end of the day. I've never been in COD lobbies where people are just hurling insults at each other from both sides because my parents knew better, and while our time on video games weren't limited, we still had internet, but it was just like we didn't care about those aspects of gaming, so we never really peered into them. I didn't start getting into online gaming until the Naruto series came along, and that put me down a rabbit hole of like, consoles getting hacked because people just did not like how I played. Like I had crazy win ratios, I had crazy tech characters, but like it is what it is because of how the person views that medium and then how they view you within that space. But if you're mad because I'm just good at the game, that's a you problem. But how do you communicate that to someone without really, kicking them while they're down? At least that's how I try to do it, because I get it. It is very easy to slam dunk on someone when they have no recourse to fight back against you. But like at that point, for me, it's too easy. So I do what works for me, and then I keep it pushing. But again, if someone's really trying to do all that because they want to flex, okay, those people are only going to care for so long until the next best thing comes up. So if you want to keep clamoring for the attention of those people who do not care about you in the first place, just have a plan in mind for when you actually do obtain that group of people and still maintain their interest forevermore in perpetuity. But no, because they don't think it through, because they're just looking at it in the moment, they're only going to go so far. People like that, I don't pay no mind to. Because what else do they have? They're a gimmick. They're a one trick.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but you get enough of them in the situation. That's what I'm saying. It was just like, because like sports fans, sports games fans can definitely attest to this. Actually, I think you can attest to this with Storm and stuff like that, with the Storm series and whatever. Like when you're like, yo, man, can people just like stop buying the same game for full price over and over again. So maybe we can get like a Boruto game, or maybe we could, maybe Bandai Namco can, get this together so that we could actually get a game that's worth something. But when you have all of these people just like, yeah, no, just buy what's it called? Storm Connection? Yeah, just buy Storm Connections because it's the new Storm game that comes out. And Chris is like that, and other people are like that. I could talk crap about Chris because it's Chris. But shout out to Chris. But yeah, people were just gonna be like, yeah, I'm just gonna buy it just because of new. Um, you're never gonna get the intended result when you're like, yeah, we need to like vote with our wallets and stuff like that because people just keep buying it, and it's like the same thing. Like it's kind of happening now with like Tekken 8 and whatever, and it's like, yo, the game looked like it was gonna be not Tekken from the beginning, but because everybody, oh, it's the new Tekken. And then when that infects like the casual fans, like, hey, let's go see what this new fighting game that everybody's going crazy about is about. And everybody buys it. Like it enables them to keep doing the nonsense that they've been doing in the first place because they're riding the wave of casual sales. And the casuals are riding the wave of what's popular right now. And so they kind of just like mesh and flow with each other. Meanwhile, it's the fans that get screwed. Now, I'm not for none of that toxicity of, threatening people and threatening developers and, saying this one can or this one don't know nothing or this and that or whatever. But at the same time, it's when you have all of these new people not coming in. I don't know if I want to say legitimately or what, but when you have these people not coming in for like right reasons or coming in for legitimate reasons, like they're really like they really love the game or they really have love for the series or whatever the case may be, but they're just riding the wave or whatever,
Well,
and it's messing us up.
again, if they're gonna ride the wave, it's only gonna take them so far, and it's not gonna. It shouldn't stop you from continuing to do what you're gonna do. That game, Storm Connections, has been out for almost, I think, 4 years now. Still haven't gotten the game. And whether
Has it been
Bandai
4 years?
it's I know it's been a while. It's been a minute. Maybe it hasn't been 4 years. Maybe like closer to 3 or 2. Um, but I'm not getting it. And funny enough, I think I am playing Shinobi Strikers at some point in May, just to see what it's like, But not the be all end all. When they've rode the wave of all the people who just want to be casual, and they really start to go, okay, we want to make another one, but we don't want to appeal to a casual market. We actually want to commit to the people who like actually appreciate like every aspect and nook and cranny of this game. What are we gonna make? Like they're only gonna be able to ride the wave of the normative market for so far before they decide they want to loop it back to a core base.
But when does that time come? Because I mean,
Who
honestly,
knows?
they said that's what Sparking Zero was supposed to be. But as somebody who's loved Dragon Ball Z games since Budokai, like the first ever Budokai, though that's not the first Dragon Ball Z game, but it's pretty early on. Um, Sparking Zero wasn't it for me. I don't think. I don't. It didn't really give me that vibe. That yeah, this one's for you. Neither did Kakarot. So it's like they say that, yeah, this is for the the long timers. Yeah, come back and this and that or whatever. Like they say that, but I don't really think like that really be the case when
Yeah,
they
it's
put it
not
out.
always going to be the case, but again, when someone, be it one person, a community, or a literal development staff says something, and you go, okay, let's see if you can back it up with your actions, and it's not connecting, and the wires are crossed. Okay, well, I guess the wires are crossed, and I won't be getting the next game, or I'll take my time before I invest in something that you make again. And they're gonna get the message loud and clear. But if enough people can overturn something that was or wasn't liked, they're gonna go off of that. If it bleeds, it's gonna lead, and they're gonna go off of that until enough people say otherwise and go, no, I'm putting my foot down. I actually considered if this is gonna be my last year for like PlayStation Plus, because they upped it by, I want to say 30%, so it's like 16 to $80 after tax now. But they've added nothing new to the service that comes with the tier that you're at. So they
But
just they
that's
just
it.
they just
Yeah.
they just upped it because it was just time to up the overhead, And it gets to a point where it's like boiling water. You're just chilling in the shower, and then you just feel the water getting incrementally hotter, and you're like, okay, I can still stay here. Hey, it's a little warm. All right. Oh, my thighs hurt. My stomach hurts. All right, it's time to get out. It's like that. You're just being boiled slowly but surely. And at some point you're going to go, "All right, this is where I get off." But if you have that moment in your head where you go, "Okay, it's time to get off," and you don't get off and you still keep on doing it, you are a part of the problem. If there is something that you do not want to get because you don't want to support, then don't get it. Don't get into the narratives of it. Don't get into the speak about it, about like, oh, this is who I'm going to stand for, and this is who I'm going to pick when it comes to things like this. Just do it. You don't need to make it a performance. Just do it. If you don't like the direction that Star Wars is going in because of who's directing it or who's at the helm of it, don't watch it. Don't watch anything regarding to it. Don't give it attention. Don't give it the time of day. Don't let it get under your skin so much that you just can't enjoy why this thing even exists in the first place. The franchise, not
But
that
I
one in
mean,
particular.
that is the way. I give you that. If you can perfect that, and I mean,
So why is it hard for guys like you to do it when it's like, are you mad that you're going your own way, but nobody comes to your side? And it's like, listen, if you agree with me, then stand with me now and rebuke Star Wars, and then no one shows up. And you're just kind of like, all right, I don't go over here by myself. I'm just gonna kick my can.
Nah. I'm gonna tell you because it's just like that, right? So I got a couple instances for you. I'll start with Star Wars first. I'll stick with Star Wars first. They just re-released. I told you they just re-released Revenge of the Sith Episode 3 in movie theaters around the world. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. Me and my mother went. Right.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't sold out. Like it wasn't packed. But I thought we was gonna walk into a dead theater. We went early in the afternoon too. I think it was like 3:30, 3:30, maybe 4 o'clock. Which is pretty early in the afternoon on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And it was pretty moderately like thing. Like it was probably a little bit less than my theater was for the Thunderbolts. But it was pretty good in there. And that's a re-release. That's a 20th anniversary re-release. Heard that it ended up doing like 25 million the first weekend, I think either worldwide or in the United States alone. 25 million for a re-release.
Okay.
So people obviously want Star Wars, but we want good Star Wars. Like, I love Star Wars, and it kills me that like I want to support Star Wars, but I don't want my time wasted. I don't want my money wasted. I don't want like people to hijack the thing that I love and care for and try to stuff their own BS into it. You know
But
what I'm
since
saying?
they
Like,
are, and they can do so because they're in positions of power and just corporate jobbing to do so, what can you do with what you're given and the time that you can
I don't
afford
know.
to give to this?
I don't know what you
I
want
would
me to.
I
You
would
want
think
you
just
want
don't
me.
watch
You
it.
want me to. You want me right. So you don't watch one, and then you don't watch another one, and then
Hmm.
you don't watch another one, and you don't watch another one, and then you're like, all right, cool. Well, they keep putting out the same slop. I would like to support
Right,
the franchise
but
that I
if
love,
you don't
but
watch it, and then there's five other people that are saying the same thing that they're not watching it, and those five people to 10 people are saying that they don't watch it, like, I think at some point the higher ups are going to get the point.
maybe. But Kathleen Kennedy is still in there. You
Right,
know what I'm saying?
until she's moved from the space because she's making them lose money, you know, but that's only going to happen
and
if
they've been,
the
but
people.
they've been losing. They've been flopping since
Right,
what
but now
20?
but
I don't remember when episode 9 or 8 came out. 2017, 2018, 2019.
so
One of them.
right now the water isn't hot enough for them to get out. The water is not hot enough for them to remove Kathleen Kennedy. But it's going to get to a point where it does. And they're going to go, "Hey, listen. People aren't really liking these. We're getting low numbers. It's costing us more money to make these things than we're getting back. We're barely breaking even. We're going to look for someone else
Yeah,
with the right requirements." And that can only happen if enough people like you are actually committed to how they feel about this franchise and just don't support what they want to see from this. But right now in 2025, May 10th, 2:40 or 2:10 p.m., there's still people on the side where they want to see these different aspects to Star Wars.
well,
But
because
there's
they
gonna come
draw in
there's gonna come a time though where they're just done with it.
yeah, a lot of
It's
people
gonna
are, but
happen.
that's what I'm saying.
It's
Like
just
it gets confusing because it's like, all right, cool. Like there's a show that they made called Andor. I haven't watched it yet, but I heard that yo, this is this is good. This is them doing the good. So that's what I'm saying. Like good shows suffer because people are already on there. Well, I'm not watching it because it's just sucked lately. So now when we get a good show, they use, and you know what I'm saying? Like WB does it and whatever, and all these other companies do it when they're like, well, see, we gave them what they wanted and they didn't want to watch that either. So we're just gonna keep on, pushing the progressive or political or whatever crap that they don't want anyway, because when we give them what they want, they don't want that either. And it's like, no, nobody just knew about it because y'all kept crapping in the bed and we thought that this was just going to be another one, or you tired us all out with this nonsense. And that's what I'm saying, like, and it's not always so clear that it's just like, it's going to be bad. They when you make a show where it's like, all right, Obi-Wan Kenobi's going to get a show.
mhm.
Man, I like Obi-Wan Kenobi from the original movies. That's my guy. Of course I'm going to watch the show. And then I watch the show and I'm like, it's crap. And then they're like, all right, well, Boba Fett is going to get a show. My mother loves like Boba Fett from the original Star Wars and whatever. Let's watch this together, ma. Oh, it's not even about Boba Fett. Well, I guess we got played. So you know what I mean? Like it's not so much like when you get shows like The Acolyte and stuff like that, where they show you a lot of questionable things and it's gonna be garbage. Yeah, you can easily avoid, sidestep, or whatever those type of things. But when they throw your legacy, if you guys loved Anakin, if you guys loved Obi-Wan, if you guys loved Ahsoka from the Clone Wars, which was our most popular animated series and this and that or whatever, come back and watch Ahsoka's show. Come back and watch Obi-Wan's show. Come back and watch the thing. Come back and watch the movies. Luke Skywalker's gonna be in it. Princess Leia's gonna be in it. Han Solo's gonna be in it. Chewbacca's gonna be in it. Like, yeah, you're gonna go back and watch it because these are the people that you grew up with, except they're drastically different from the things that you grew up with because the people that are writing it don't even care about, things. Like, this was stuff that I got into or stuff that I ended up watching before I was like heavy on the internet and being able to like see, all right, what is it? But I gotta tiptoe because if I watch some that's too detailed, it's gonna spoil it for me anyway. So, this and that or whatever. I seen Star Wars back in the day. I just went, Star Wars. You and Auntie and Nana got me into the thingamajiggy. Let's go watch it. Star Wars. All right, cool. Let's go watch it. You know what I mean? Like that's what it was. But now it's like, hold on, let me look into it and see who did what and how this is that and then whatever. Like, man, I just want to go watch some. I just want to go watch some Space Wizards. That's what I want to see. Or same thing with like the Batman game. It's a Batman. Oh, Batman's in this Suicide Squad, Justice League or whatever game. Batman's my guy. Let me go get. Oh no, because it's not. out here, doing all kinds of whatever.
So
So that's what I'm saying
what did you
is
back up your save file until it's time to come back out to the new progression?
say that again.
So if what you're engaging with isn't it for you, you can just go back a few spaces until the next thing that comes out is to your liking.
I can do that, and I do that because I mean, what other option do I have? But I mean, like, I don't want it to get to the point where it's just like, dog, why are you frustrated about it? Just don't pay it. No, like, nah, hell no. I'm not gonna
No,
not pay it
I'm
any
not saying
mind.
you
Like,
can't pay it any mind. It's because you're going back to your old save files. It's because you're paying it mind. It's like those people who go like, "Yeah, I don't care," but it's like, "Wow, you seem kind of animated for someone who doesn't care." We are emotional creatures. We are going to care by default. Well, until you become apathetic, then abandon all ye hope. But it's just like I know you care about it, but if you care about it so much that you're not going to engage with it until you agree to the terms and conditions as to why you're going to be like, all right, I'm going to give this aspect of the franchise a chance. But if I don't like it, I'm going to go back to what I liked watching about it because that stuff still exists. Now, unless you buy it digitally and you have no way of getting to it physically and the digital platform decides to lock it away in the vault, okay, well, you're out of luck there, but nothing's stopping you from going back to the things that you remembered liking about it because that's what made it cool. That's what made it great to you. That's what made it speak, and that's what made it really come to shine and come to life for you. But it's like, dude, this Jurassic World movie could be a complete dookie fest, right? But like, hey, at least I know Dominion exists. And
yeah,
even if I
but
don't
then
like
on the one
Dominion,
hand,
hey, I still got
on
Fallen Kingdom in the first one. Like, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be all
we are
right.
gonna be okay, but it's gonna be like the thing where it's just like, now I don't really know because I'll take it from you because you're the bigger Jurassic World, Jurassic Park, Jurassic whatever fan than I am. I like them, but you love them. But I mean, some people will be like, man, why are we getting this next part, this reboot or whatever it may be, so soon? We just finished the last one like not too long. We haven't really had time to like let it breathe. For but for like us or maybe for you, you're like, yo, I love the Jurassic. So if they
No,
want to
I
make the
did a
dinosaur,
total whiplash after I walked out of the theaters in 2022 with Dominion, only to read in a headline that they have plans for 6 movies already. And mind you, this movie was still in theaters. I'm like, wow, that's a very, very, very quick turnaround. But
yeah.
hey,
So see, you
could
wanted you
could
wanted more time to breathe.
well, I'm still gonna breathe regardless. It it's so funny because like even though it comes out, let's say whatever day it comes out in the summertime, and obviously I'm gonna see it the day it comes out. But if I don't want to see it right then and there because I'm not in the mood, I can literally just wait till DVD or whatever. Right? I'm still giving myself time to breathe. But I can't help when something is going to get released or when a project is going to get lit. I don't have any control in that whatsoever unless someone from the CEO position came to me and said, "Mr. Murray, when do you think we should release Jurassic Park?" And I'd be like, "Put that out on my birthday." But other than that, you have no say in that. So what can you do in the meantime while you wait for that inevitable to come? But again, that's how I handle it because that's my intent when going into this space.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess maybe I'm just
Wow,
too
great
emotional.
episode
But
today.
I mean, I don't,
The
maybe
way all
maybe
these
maybe
things just connect and flow into each other. Oh my gosh. Happy Mother's Day, y'all.
maybe yeah, maybe I know maybe I should just come unprepared to all of the rest of them. But anyway, yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too emotional about it. It's just like for me personally, like I think about it as you were saying that and whatever. Like, yeah, you could just leave it alone. But then it's like there's a part of me that's like, and obviously I do leave it alone because it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna spend. I can't spend $70 on Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. It's a butt game, and I'm not gonna play it. I can't spend like movie tickets are like 20 plus dollars a pop because they got the stupid laser thing now. If you go to Adobe one, it's like 23, 24, whatever. I'm not even gonna talk about 3D because I don't watch stuff in 3D anyway, but it's like 20 plus dollars a movie ticket. And you go with two people, that's like 40 beats. If you get food, that's like 60, $70. That's like the price of the game. So, you know, you can't just spend it willy nilly. And it's like when you want to go, you may want to. Like, I want to play the game. It's Kevin Conroy's last game. And do you know how many people, like, that have been waiting for them to continue or, do something else after, like, Arkham Knight or whatever, and this is that Batman? But then you put it in a flop of a game from the studio that made the other game. So it's kind of like you just stuck with that bad taste in your mouth. Like, you want to support it, you may want to get into it, you may, or at least I know I do. But it's like, I'm not gonna do it if this is what they're doing with it, and you're left
Yeah,
in, like, kind
the
of a place
missed
of
the missed
frustration.
opportunity definitely does hurt. You polished that gun, you loaded that chamber so effortlessly, and then when you went to go fire, you missed by a long shot. But it doesn't mean in a sense, not in the literal sense because he's passed away, rest in power, but they can try again to some capacity. It's
Yeah, they
like
can, and
Suicide Squad just
hopefully they get it
unfortunately
right.
is the most recent thing that has come out of that. Like, for me, for example, Sparking Zero, don't hate it, don't love it either. I'm just more akin to like Budokai before it gets to the Tenkaichi series. But the franchise has been around for so long that they're just inevitably cutting corners. Okay, so it's not what I was expecting, but it's still a fun time. Okay, but that's one front. Another front as to why I would, entertain myself with a game like this. It's the last thing that is out there that the creator was alive to, be around when it was being produced. So I'll take that. But everything that comes else after it, I can't really, it's the same thing with Yu-Gi-Oh! If they make another Yu-Gi-Oh! Show, unless they're going off of the notes of the creator, there's always going to be that part of me that's just kind of like, yeah, but it's not from him. Not saying it's bad, not saying it's gonna flop the minute it comes out, but I like knowing that something is out there because that person had a hand in it. I like that when I was reading Boruto, it was theorized that, Kurama might die. And then it started getting into, oh no, these guys are gonna kill Naruto. But they're actually gonna kill the creators, like that's his baby, I mean, the Uchihas are really his babies, but, Naruto was the thing that made him be able to tell the story about the Uchihas and make them a big deal. There's no way they're going to let that go, but you see how that narrative within the narrative starts to get built when that might not even be the case. Because at the end of the day, he's still supervising it. And then he comes in, he takes over for Ikimoto for a bit, and then he puts the story in the way that he thinks is best in this slight course correction to be able to tell the story from blah, 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 blah. Now, again, I like Boruto, but the way I explain Boruto to people, they end up saying in the end of the conversation, man, I probably would give that a chance because of how you explained it. And I don't think I even explained it particularly well, but you can tell that from the enthusiasm and just for the respect that I have for the franchise and like just how anime is right now. It's a level of detachment, but there is still some care to it. Because we all have a reason as to why we like these things. But sometimes I think the more selfish the reason, the more it's hard to like sell someone on that personable matter as to why you like it, because that personal matter is only intrinsically tailored to your experience. And it's going to be very hard to find common ground with somebody who's done the exact same thing in the exact same way that you've done it. Yeah, we've all played Overwatch, but there are some players who are just really nuanced when it comes to these characters, and there are some who just really aren't. I can tell you every character up to Hazard. Everyone else after that, dude, I don't know. I know there's a crossbowing girl. I know there's a guy who's got a staff and Winnie. He kind of looks like Aang, but couldn't tell you anything more after that. Does it mean I'm bad at Overwatch? No. I've been in that game for almost 6 years, almost 2,000 hours, right? Which is probably nothing to someone who's, got that thing on every single day of their life. But 2,000 hours is 2,000 hours. It's not a
2,000
flex.
hours is a lot.
Yeah, it's
Sure.
just, it's what it is. And if you don't end up liking it, hey, hopefully you've got something else out there that came out when, it was at its peak, when it was at its height. But until the next thing comes out after that dud, it's either that's what you're left with, or there's something in the back foot that you can go back to and still be kind of like, yeah, like I remember, like this is why I liked it. And hey, it might even help you change the perspective and maybe even give it a chance at some point. Like I really do want to give Star Wars a chance, but after trying it on 3 separate occasions, I'm just kind of like, meh. And then all the conversations that I hear about it, everything that the algorithm tries to push towards me, and even with the algorithm, which is just a reflection of, the human behavior on the digital space, I'm just kind of like, I really don't want to get into this franchise because it's too much of a headache. It's too much of a hassle. I can't ask somebody just straight up, hey, how do I get into this franchise without getting into the politics of it, without getting into the, well, these are the groups that you should look out for. These are the people who like this aspect of it, but not this. But you want to enjoy this part of it. Otherwise, you can't. I remember I used to finish my chores so quickly at 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock on Friday nights, so I could try to watch the Secret Saturdays and the Clone Wars, because there was just
Mhm.
something about that show's depiction of the world of Star Wars where I was like, yeah, I kind of rock with this. But then they started doing episodes out of order. They started moving into like Saturday at 11 o'clock in the morning where I got to get ready for rehearsal. And it was just getting harder and harder to keep up with a show that just was so broad. And then I just stopped, but it was to no one's fault. But then if I try to get back into it and see that, wow, this landscape is a lot different. Like, people are angry. Kathleen Kennedy, what? The Force Awakens? As far as I see it, I look at Star Wars like a cousin, because Jurassic Park and Star Wars and Harry Potter, they're kind of all cut from the same cloth. I think John Williams
Pretty
composed
much.
all three of them, so they have like that musical motif for a lot of them, and that's enough to make me go like, man, I really gel with this because it just makes me feel warm and cozy. But once I get past that small aspect of why I could get into something, it's like, okay, well, how can you keep me there, or how can you keep someone like me there? Um, and I'm sure it's got a lot of good story beats to say and tell, but unfortunately for me, right now in my life, again, I could have a completely different change of heart at the age of 35 and give this game or movie a chance, in TV shows. But right now, the juice just isn't worth the squeeze for me.
Well, I mean, I get it, and I mean, I'm not gonna try to sell it to you, but I mean, like
Yes,
for
because you
most
are you,
people,
you are a good person. But if I said that to someone who
no,
wasn't well
I
intent,
get it, but
they would
I'm
be like,
saying it's
"Man, f
yeah,
you! You better get into
it's
this
a
franchise.
lot
I'm gonna
of
kill your cat!" Like,
it's a lot of what I feel like with Star Wars, especially like the older ones, and I think that this is probably why people have some wreck with the newer ones. Is like when you sat down and you watched Star Wars back in the day. Like I told you, I was like, people have written college essays, dissertations, and psychological evaluations and whatever off of like Darth Vader and Anakin and other characters from this movie. When George Lucas sat down and put this story together, it wasn't even that complicated. But the way that people sit down and they take in the movie is something different. Like, for example, like when I watched The Batman with you and how you were saying, yo, the song from the beginning kind of like sets the tempo from I didn't even know that. I told my mom, I was like, yo, I sat here and watched this movie with my son. My son kind of like figured out what was going on just from like the music alone. I didn't even pay that no mind, other than yeah, the music is dope, the score is dope when
yeah,
I was watching the
Broadway
movie.
science.
Before I had even watched it with you, I probably watched it like 3 4 times. And then you was like, yeah, putting it together from the music and this and that or whatever, like you kind of tell, and it's all flowing. And I was like, yeah, I didn't even know nothing about that, but because you opened that door for me, like that opened up a whole new perspective on that movie. And it's kind of like the same thing with Star Wars, where it's like you could sit down and watch it and be like, yo, this is some cool like action space wizardry or whatever. And then there's people on here talking about, man, did you guys catch and pay attention to like the politics going on with the Empire and the Republic and the separatists and this and that and whatever? It's like, yo, there was a whole political, movie inside of the Star Wars movie, like people wasn't even paying attention to. That's what's up. And then the later movies just kind of like dumbed all of that down, and it's like thing, but it's still there, and that's why I said like what I want people to understand is the difference between the old Star Wars and what they put into the newer Star Wars now. I never wanted to be like, yo, y'all should hate these movies. Like I would never go and see like, yo, you should hate 7, 8, and 9. I'm actually interested in seeing what somebody who didn't have to like wait for them to come out with 7, 8, and 9 thinks about 7, 8, and 9. You know what I mean? Because this is honestly gonna be like your Star Wars. It wouldn't be my Star Wars because like I came up with it with the times. So when Episode 1 came out in like 99, 2000, I was there. When episode 2 came out, I was there. When episode 3 came out, I was there in the movie theater. So it was like, those are my Star Wars. 4, 5, and 6, those are my mother's Star Wars. Because for the same way that 1, 2, and 3 was mine when I was in the theaters and I was watching them or whatever, she watched 4, 5, and 6 when they came out.
Mm.
And Nana and my aunt took her to go see that and get into that and whatever. So it's like 2 different generations, and got my little cousin into it. And then 7, 8, and 9 is kind of like, it's neither one of our Star Wars, not mine, not my mother's, not her mother's, but it's like the next generation Star Wars that we're gonna go watch together. You know what I mean? So I think that that's like, kind of cool in and of itself. We don't like those, but it's like, it's still a cool thing where it's like we have our own, and then we waited to see what they came up with next. But I'm also interested to see what somebody who's like, I didn't have to wait. Like, I watched it. I like, these are mines, and I get them all right now. And I'm interested to see like what somebody new thinks about that, just to see if maybe it's another perspective that I could pick up. Some people who come from the old school love 7, 8, and 9. Some people who come from my generation like 7, 8, and 9. And I don't think anything like less of them. I wonder what they, I'm always asking, like, well, why? What do you like about it? Like, I want to know. Now, why do you like it? You must be stupid. Like, nah. But, like, what was it? What did you see that I must not have seen, or this and that, or whatever? I'm interested, to know, what the different perspective is, and whatnot. But, there's a lot of people that come in here and they think, like, the thing that we don't, like, they come in here and they're like, yeah, this is what it always was. Like, come on, you know what I mean? You can see the difference between these Star Wars and those Star Wars, and what, like, it's the same thing with my Star Wars and my mother's Star Wars. It's like, if you want to be like episode 1 and 2 is, but I agree. Episode 1 is, kind of Episode 2 was like a love story gone left and whatever, and episode 3 was, in my opinion, the best out of all 9 of them. But I mean, again, that's my, because it's my Star Wars. To her, I'm sure The Empire Strikes Back was the best Star Wars. With, Luke, I am your father, that being Darth Vader. At that time, back in, I think that's the 80s, and that time in the 80s when, the bad guy never wins in the movie. So, I said, what was it? I said Infinity War was for me when Thanos finishes and he sits down, mission complete and whatever.
Yeah.
And how I was in shock that they ended it with the bad guy winning. Even though I knew there was another movie coming, still that they had the balls to end the movie like that. For me, that was, her and Empire Strikes Back. Wow, Darth Vader and the Empire won at the end of this movie. And Luke gets away alive, so there's another one coming. But I mean, they had the balls to end the movie like that back then, and that's, so for her, that was her Infinity War.
Now, the
So it's
crazy
like,
part about all of this is that is what the newer Star Wars can be for someone. And if they respect
Possibly.
this medium enough, they're going to find episodes 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And they might really, really like them and be like, oh my gosh, like, they're going to see how far it's changed for better and for worse. But, like, they're just born in a different era, and they already start a bit further past the finish line than what our generation did and then what our parents' generation did. Your mom probably loves like Adam West Batman. That's probably like her Batman, or the Clooney one.
No,
but yours is Conroy.
Not Clooney, not Clooney.
Okay. Yeah. So you see how, like, that just can't be helped. Because of where you start and what you're brought into first. That's gonna just stick with you for a very long time. And a lot of it will be emotionally charged for whatever point you were at your life of when that happened. Heck, the Thunderbolts might just be inspiring the next directors out there. It's just, you just never know how these things are going to track when you put it out there and there's just so much backlash to it. But then there's that one person in the crowd that's just kind of like, oh my gosh, like, this was amazing, and it just inspires them to be like the next X. It can happen. It can happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Madam Web and what's the what's the horror Winnie the Pooh movies called? It's
The
not
blood
those
and honey
levels of
one.
like yeah, it's not like those levels of bad. Like, don't get me wrong. Obviously, they put some effort into it. They put thing into it. Like, somebody sat down and came up with it. They have direction and stuff like that. They're just not as strong. Like, think about it. Like, did you watched all of the Fast and Furious movies, right?
No, but
You
I
did
really
that whole
want to.
series.
I really want
Oh,
to.
okay. So it's kind of like if you sit down and you watch like Fast One up to like Fast Five. I'll give it five, and that's giving it some grace because really after Tokyo Drift, it kind of jumps off of the whole racing aspect of it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, they do The Fast and The Furious, which is like their reboot, sequel, whatever. It's their Final Fantasy VII remake. Um, where they jam everything into it, and that does involve some racing. And then after that is, I think, Fast Five, and yeah, Fast Five. And then after Fast Five, it really kind of goes off the reservation. But it's kind of like everything, all the Fast and the Furious after that, where it's kind of just like we done left Can. We're not in Kansas anymore. This is not, you know, what it was. It's gone and being something different. Even up to the point in like I think it's either Fast Nine or Fast 10. No, I think Fast 10 was the last. So I think Fast Nine where even they're making like they're breaking the fourth wall, making jokes about how they are. You know what I'm saying? So it's like as long as you understand like the latter Star Wars is like that. Because obviously it changed. It's not George Lucas doing it no more. It's the Disney people doing it. 1 through 6 is George Lucas. That's his vision. That's his story. That's his characters. All one world. All one rule. Then after that, 7, 8, 9 is Disney doing the thing, doing their version of what they want to do with their own characters and some of George Lucas's characters. Now you get kind of frustrated because it's like when you look at their their filler movies, which is Rogue One and Solo.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really likes Solo. I think Solo is a decent movie. I think if you go into it not really expecting anything, I used to tell the mailman that used to come to do the building at my job. I said, Joe, if you I was like, don't clear like your Saturday or something like that to watch the movie. But if you got nothing else going on and you throw them, let me watch Solo. I think it's a pretty decent, enjoyable movie. Now people get mad because Rogue One, Disney's first filler movie, is a great movie. It's kind of like this is what you guys are capable of. Why don't you do this all the time? And The Mandalorian, the show I'm sure you heard of, is the same way. In the first like 2 seasons, great show. This is what you guys are capable of. Why don't you do this all the time? And then they just go off the reservation with the rest of the other movies and the other shows, and it's just like, why are you guys acting like you don't know how to make it right? Like when you make it right, we all show you love, and then you go and do this dumb stuff, and it's like, what are you guys doing? So it's not like we hate it just because we hate it, or we hate
Oh
it
yeah,
just
no,
because
yeah,
they
no,
want to put
absolutely
women
not.
at the forefront.
But
You know what I mean?
it's
It's like you
it's
guys know what you're doing. Why ain't you doing it?
shareholders, investors. I would like to think that certain shareholders and investors know Star Wars to a respectable amount, but yeah, no, like the people who make the decisions at the very tippy top, just all they care about is just make money. The way I look at it, it's like you just put everything into the attack stat, and you don't care for defense, you don't care for speed, you don't care for dexterity, and if you get that one shot, GG's. But if you can't land a hit like Trunks couldn't on Cell, that's the match. And I've kind of already seen this with Power Rangers anyways. Like, there was a point where Saban owned it, and then he gave it to Disney, and then Disney was about to let it go, but then Nickelodeon bought the rights to it, and now it's actually pretty good. But then Nickelodeon did something where you were putting it in the freezer for like 3 years, and you weren't sure if it was going to come back. But it still is coming back, and it's most likely still under Nickelodeon. But it's like these changing of hands happen so commonly in business. You just hate to see when it's something that you really liked when you were younger, but that was because you didn't understand all the intricacies and the nuances of it. But now that you're old enough, you either have a newfound appreciation for it, or you just see it in a completely different light where it takes away that enjoyment for you. Like, I could not appreciate Harry Potter when I was younger. The only two things I remembered about Harry Potter was that he lived under the staircase, which I thought was cool, but now that I'm older is super claustrophobic, and there was a three-headed dog named Fluffy. Everything else, did not remember, did not care. I thought Hagrid was Dumbledore and Dumbledore was Hagrid. But that's not the case. But now that I'm old enough and I literally went to school for this, I just have a completely different appreciation for how I take the time to digest the stuff that I watch. And
Oh
it's
yeah,
and it's
because we
worked out
see
and it's
movie
worked out so
making
much
and
better for me
storytelling
because
different.
yeah, and if there's something that I
Mhm.
just don't like, I'm like, all right, listen, that was dookie, but it's not the end. This is not the end. I know that if I care about something enough, I'm willing to do something about it. If there's something out there that's not getting talked about enough, I will make something about it. Like, I remember when uh I made a retrospective video about this educational film about just dinosaurs. And I know that movie is not anywhere near the leagues of like Jurassic Park, right? But because I remember watching it when I was a kid, and it was like only maybe 48 to an hour ish long. It wasn't a long movie. Um, it just stuck with me. And then as I got older, and the more I thought about it, and I'm like, man, why is no one talking about this movie? This movie was kind of dope, you know. It's a little cheesy, right? But I liked it so much that I was like, I gotta do something about it. It got to that point where I was like, all right, I gotta get out of the tub because I gotta do something about it. And I feel like so many people just get so wound up where it's like, you have two arms and legs and a beating heart with a brain. Do something about it. And they don't. And it just irks me because it's just like, we're all so creative. You know, there's just so many ideas that just never become popular or just never get past that stage. And it sucks because that could be the next best blah. Um until it goes, public, and then it's not as fun anymore. It's not as cool. But like, we're all capable of just so much creativity, but because there's so many other things going on in our life, it just bogs us down or it distracts us or it just puts us further and further and further and further away from that core that makes us us. And it's tough because that is never more evident when you go into a community that either tries to gatekeep, or you're in the spaces and then you see the doors close behind you and you're like, man, this is the community that I'm in. You do kind of get assimilated into it, like via osmosis, whether you want to or not. And it's scary sometimes because you're like, I don't really adopt these ideas or these personalities or these points about why I like this thing, but who else am I going to find that can talk about stuff like this to this level, you know? And in one way or another, you kind of end up staying. But
Well, I mean, I agree with you 1,000%. And I mean, every fan base, I don't care if you're talking about like, Power Rangers, rock and roll music to My Little Pony. Every fan base has this radical. You know what I mean? So if you get into if you talk to the wrong person about it, yeah, you can definitely be left with sour taste in your mouth with a thing. That's why I say I get it when you're like Star Wars kind of looks daunting. Just imagine somebody who wants to get into the Fate series. God bless them. So I mean, like, there's a lot of people out there that, facilitate that, but a lot of people, especially if you get to know somebody who's more level headed or whatever the case may be, will probably feel like, and I say this for myself too, if you come with it from a point of like understanding, like when you ask me, like, yo, B, what, if I wanted to get into Star Wars, what do you think I should start? Or what do you think I should? I'm like, honestly, I think you should start. You could start. I mean, there's two ways. It's a good question because if you want to watch it in chronological release, you go one through nine. But if you want to watch it in like year of the release, which is also because it's kind of tough for you to see the saber fight. And even me and my mother, when we went to watch the re-release of episode 3, it was like 3 probably got like the best saber fight in all of them. And you would think 7, 8, and 9 that came out like 2016, 2017 on or whatever would have better saber fighting than episode 3, which came out in 2004, 2005. It's like almost 20 years different. They should be way better with saber, but no. So it's like you would think so, but not. So it's hard to watch episode three's lightsaber fighting and then watch Star Wars lightsaber fight. It's like they're fighting underwater with 100-pound weights on their whole body. Like it slows all the way down. But you got to remember, this movie was made in the 70s and the 80s, so of course it's gonna be a lot slower. So there's a strong case to be made either way, and that's an interesting conversation in and of itself. But the storytelling doesn't really fall off. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mm-hmm.
if I say if you watch episode 1, 2, and 3, the storytelling is probably weaker in 1 and 2 if you're not watching for all of the aspects, like the straight up Jedi versus Sith storytelling in 1 and 2, or good versus evil storytelling in 1 and 2, is not as strong as 4 and 5. But the lightsaber and the action is much better in all three of 1, 2, and 3 than it is in 4, 5, and 6. But the storytelling is stronger in the original Star Wars movie. So it's like there's a strong case to be made for you to start either way, depending on what you're looking for and why and whatever. That's why when you ask me, I'm like, damn, that's a hard question. I don't really know, how to thingamajiggy. Maybe watch it 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9 first, and if you ever watch it again, then watch it 1 through 9. I did it both ways, and I still can't tell. Like as I'm talking, I'm trying to figure out which I would recommend, and I still can't because it's just like it's really tough either way. So yeah, you find level-headed people that can have these reasonable conversations. Same with Harry Potter. Same with like Yu-Gi-Oh or whatever. Like people gonna pick their favorites. People gonna say what they want to say about this, that, whatever. But yeah, I feel like if people want to get into it, you meet those reasonable people or whatever, and you go from there. Because I mean, there's a lot of reasonable people that want to have conversations too, and they like it's easy to just be like, yo, we're good. You got the things that you love. But it's like, yeah, we've watched the things that we love for years. We want something new. We want something new to give. Like, we want to have a new movie, have a new show, have a new book, have a new game. You know what I'm saying? And then when it comes to like everybody having their opinion, but if you have such an opinion, makes some people, you got to recognize your station. You know what I mean? Just because you have an opinion, some people can tell you like if something is good or not. Like they can tell you if the dish is good or not, but they can't cook the dish themselves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like not everybody's a cook. Not everybody has the passion to go make that happen. Not everybody has the know or wherewithal to put that together to make that happen. Me as like a story writer and whatever the case may be, I think somebody was saying on the last episode, like, what would you do different with this, or how would you write your own this and that and whatever. For some of those things, I know the answer to those questions. I'm working on some of the answers to those questions and whatever. But for some of those other things, I can't really write a Star Wars story. Or I'll just go to like Batman, for example. Sometimes I'm blown away by like how do people do the Riddler? You know what I mean? Like I can write the mobsters. I can write the Joker. I could write Freeze. I could write these people. But how does somebody write riddles, tie them to crimes, and make the Riddler so like I'm blown away when I see them do that with fan fictions, with how I see the Arkham writers do it in the game and this and that and whatever. Like it's really cool to see how they do because I mean they tie the riddles to the crimes and then they make it all flow together and you gotta like you're stumping the audience and you got Batman stumbling around trying to figure it out at the same time. Like it's really cool how they think that far ahead
Mm-hmm.
and they connect all of the dots like that, and almost like you gotta write the story backwards.
Yeah.
So I'm blown away by how they I don't think that I could do that. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think that I could do that. I could try, but you know what I mean? I wouldn't be the person to like put that together. So it's like I recognize that I couldn't do that. But if somebody messed up the Riddler like they did in the movie with Val Kilmer, God bless the dead, and Tommy Lee Jones and all of them, when you don't really get the characters right, Two Faces acting like the Joker. The Riddler was okay in that movie. He wasn't the problem per se, but it's like, man, you kind of messing up these characters, so you kind of messing up the movie, you know. Uh, and you can say, well, it's just a different take on a thing, but it's like when everything tells me that like Two Face is supposed to be about this, and then you make him about that, just because it's kind of like I don't know. either you wanted to do that, or maybe you just didn't understand the character. Kind of like with the dude I dislike, Zack Snyder,
Mm-hmm.
where he just doesn't understand Superman. He doesn't fully understand Batman. He just wanted to, make his own edgy version of it, and just went with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I get it. I understand. But that's really what it comes down to. Um, Part of some of the gatekeeping aspects and stuff like that, and some of the frustrations from the fans, the more level-headed frustrations from the fans. We just want something new. You know what I mean? Like we love what we love. We backed up our save files. We love the classics. We love the old Star Wars, the old Batman's, the old Dragon Ball Z games, the old Jurassic. But we want something want something new to love too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They show you that they love the old. If you can make $25 million on the opening weekend of a re-release movie that came out 20 years ago, they didn't do nothing new to it, didn't add in deleted scenes or nothing like that. Just re-release the same movie on upgraded visuals or whatever, and that's it. Put the same movie out there. You made $25 million in a weekend. That shows you that people love Star Wars. People want Star Wars. We want to go see it, but not that stuff that you guys is making. You just want something new that still is in the same flow and momentum of the stuff that made us fall in love with it in the first place.
Amen.
But yeah, no, that's it. So you can take us home when you're ready.
Well, that was a very long shot caller. How long did you set that for?
It went off a little while ago, but we were still going back.
Oh, my poor hard drive. My poor hard drive. Well, I don't want to be like, back up your save files. Be the change you want to see, as Money said back in like season 1, episode 2. Like, it's not easy. Yeah, a lot of our past recordings just ring very evident. Even this far into the season, where it's just kind of like, yeah, we kind of already know the answer. We just gotta re-say it every now and then so we don't come off as crazy.
Yeah, that'll, sometimes you need to get it out there. You know what I mean? Like, say it and then,
Listen, I thought I already got it out there, but then be like, here's what we talked about today, and it's like, all right, I think I said all I could say for this, but let's see if I can dig a little deeper. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
It's like in a weird way, I have to work it backwards, because like I kind of already know where I stand on it, but to be able to like talk about it for so long that I loop back to like coming back to the right side of it, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, you get different, because I mean I seen some things, and I see some things that I didn't even get to bring up because of the flow of the conversation. So that's why I always feel like sometimes you revisit something and you got different things to say on it, different thingamajiggies and ideas and whatever to discuss on it, even though it may be the same topic, but you have different things to add or aspects to address, or whatever the case may be. And how that went into even getting back to the save file thingamajiggy, where it's like because when we was talking about backing up the save file, I was kind of like, all right, I'm not gonna really get into it from like my, just gonna be like, yeah, all right, cool. One of these days though, I am gonna be like, this is why,
Did you feel that you were able to speak to the other side?
I did. I put it out there this time. I was like, yeah, this is why I'm frustrated with it personally. Why, this and that and whatever. But yeah, because I think the first time it came up, I was trying to do it for like the general speaking public or whatever, why they might be frustrated. Today I came out of why I am frustrated. So it was like,
he mad, y'all. Stop making Money mad.
It was more personal. Yeah, I'm always the one that gets triggered. I'm tired of it. I'm gonna go on strike.
Thank the Lord you're not the Hulk. Star Wars movie bad. 20 million dead.
Yeah, I'm gonna go into therapy or something like that, and I'm gonna just show up to these shows and start being super zen all the time like you.
Gotta be chill. You gotta be relaxed. But I'm sure there's people out there that hate my approach to it, and it's like what's that saying when you're not on a fence sitter? They might think that you're fence sitting and stuff like that. But no, there's more to life than the media we consume, and there are times when I'm really really into media, and then there's times where I just want to go outside and drive to the beach and feel the sand on my socks until it's time to get back into the car, and then I'm just kind of like, man, why didn't I just bring a towel? So yeah.
I mean, I mean, that's kind of what we are, though. Not fence setters per se, but kind of, but not really. But at the same time, it's like we offer more, and that's why I kind of wanted to start the whole thing, because I feel like for a lot of these topics that people either you go like, and I don't want us to seem like we're picking on anybody, but just to use that as an example, either we go like synthetic man, where we're just like you can either be really, really, really negative about everything, or you could just be like, I don't know, somebody who's just like really, really, really super positive about everything. We offer more nuanced takes where it's like, yeah, we see the positive and we see the negative, and we can understand both sides, or we can make sense of both sides, even though we may not agree with both sides. But we could put it out there because I mean that's kind of what I do sometimes. Sometimes I do end up playing devil's advocate just because like we both have the same opinion, but I'm gonna try to bring it from the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's kind of why I wanted to start it, get more balanced takes out there because I feel like a lot of things today is trying to like weigh you one way or another. Honestly, I feel like me and you both just feel like we want people to think for themselves. Think for yourselves. Feel what you feel. It's okay to feel what you feel. You're entitled to feel what you feel. Don't go crazy about it, but at the same time,
Yeah, but if
at
your
the same
feelings were
time,
coming
try to
from an
understand
entity
the
that
other side.
you didn't really want to have a say in, I don't know, it's just like, I'm not saying you can't have like the same opinions from other people or like use it as like a jumping off point, but at some point you got to take the training wheels off and just start thinking for yourself. Because then you are
Well, I
gonna
mean,
get you are
everybody,
gonna get bad
every,
people in that space that were able to breach the gatekeeping community and whatever, and then if because you don't have like a real leg to stand on, because you were just coddled the entire time, it's just kind of like, yeah, that's gonna do you in. You were riding
yeah,
the
but I mean,
train
I
for a good
mean,
while.
everybody's got like an opinion. People be like, I don't got. I mean, if you really don't have an opinion, then that's fair. But I feel like people have opinions. They just don't want to. They don't want to say it because they don't want to offend or they don't want to get pulled into. And that's fine. Like for example, for the longest time, I didn't give a hoot about politics. I still don't really give a hoot about politics. But after like this election and whatever, people have just been hitting me with like all types of like, well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? So I'd be like, yo, listen, I preface all of my statements by saying, listen, I don't care about politics. I don't, I don't even have a side, but this is what I think about. This is what I think about that. And this is why, like, I'm more balanced because I feel this way. And I find myself talking more about it now than I ever have in my entire life. And it's like, I don't derive joy from it because it's not really a topic that I'm like passionate about per se, like politics in and of itself. I'm passionate about people. So I care about, the people that it affects and how we go forward as people together and so on and so forth. But I don't really care about the subject itself. But I do have opinions on it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like everybody has opinions on things. Like if you ask the question, yeah, what do you think about it? Well, this is what I think about it, but it's not really that deep, and you just keep it to the level of where you at. Like I can't really get to the what the Republicans was doing like 30, 40 years. I don't know, and I don't care to know. You know what I mean? Or what the Democrats was doing. I don't know, and I don't care to know. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. That's not really my forte. But I
Yeah,
can tell
it's
you
like
about what
it's
I
like
think about
nerdy
it
talk,
now.
but for the red and blue. It's really what it is at the end of the day.
Hmm.
If you can't talk
Yeah.
about like the literal factual history of the world from X amount of years ago, but you can do that same level of discourse with a Batman or a comic book character or a video game from 40 years ago, it's the same thing, but it comes down to the person. There are going to be people that love
Yeah,
talking
and
about politics, like fantasy football. There are going to be people who love talking about fantasy X, about anything, like it's an anime. People who talk about anime like it's actually real life. It's just, it all comes
yeah,
down to the intent of the person. And what is it going to
Yeah.
be like when that well-intended person or that bad-intentioned person is in your household causing a muck because they want to change the space from within because they think they can do it better, or they think they have something to say that is way better or so much cooler than whatever was happening in your household beforehand. It's just...
Then they should go do that. You know what I'm saying? If you feel like and that's because I was gonna piggyback off what you said and just say it's about your level of passion. If your level of passion for whatever topic is that I can do it better, I need to make the change. Go be the change that you want to see. Like I said, yeah, go make it happen then. If you feel like you can do a better job, making the animes, making the movies, making the games, making the shows, running the country, whatever it may be, if you feel like you could do a better job of it, go make that happen.
I think people should go back to having
position.
like diaries or like blogs.
I mean, people do need to think. Well, you know what it is, right? What I say, and this is what I said about the whole thing about like whenever the thing that stays consistent when people ask me about politics is like, yeah, I remember the days where the two sides could disagree with each other, and that be the end of it. You know what I'm saying? You could feel the way you feel, they could feel the way they felt. You could say whatever in that conversation. And then they chop it up and get a drink afterwards, or go eat afterwards, or share, or drink a beer, or whatever the case may be. Not this whole, well, if you don't agree with me, then you're just an idiot, and I hate you, and I'm gonna cut you off, and yada yada yada. You know what I'm saying? Like, and not to even keep that in the realm of like politics, but it's like in the thing of like everything. It's like when the people from the games and the movies and the things go too far, and they start personally attacking like the actors, the actresses. They start attacking like the people who worked on the film, or the directors, or the this or the that or the whatever. Now you could say like somebody is doing a bad job running this or that or whatever, but I mean it should never really get to the point where like you're forcing it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you want to do harm to them, you are doing harm to them, so on and so forth. It's like it should never reach that point, because then it gets into like your theory of it, where it's like, yo, it's not that serious. You know what I mean? Where you want to affect somebody's life over like your entertainment or your this or that or whatever. Like, no, you have the power. So that's a different conversation for a different day. When it comes to like these people who are in charge and this and that or whatever, you go and vote for who you vote for. You can vote with your wallets if you don't want to support the people that you think are ruining this and that or whatever. You have the power to, try to affect some change on those things, but you shouldn't try to make that happen with like, harassment or violence or this and that, or that is taking it way too far.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, some of y'all are turned. Well said. Well said. Well, if you guys feel any different about it, say so nicely in the comments. Don't be mean now. No one likes mean people. Mean people are bad. What if I said Clifford is the best American kaiju we've had? You think that would get me in trouble?
Nah. Because I mean, what's his name is from Japan? Oh, King Kong is from here, no?
Yes, he is. He is our American kaiju. He is ours. Huzzah! Big monkey.
So Clifford over King Kong? That's an interesting take.
Clifford over King Kong. Violent, especially be a big old Rottweiler. Heck yeah.
That's an interesting one. So do you think 100 humans can
Oh, look at that. I hear the music. Bam, 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 bam.
So do you think 100 humans could take out a big red dog? Nah, take us home.
Well, at 3:02 p.m., 2 hours, 4 minutes, and 32 seconds in the time of recording this thing, the Bible said it was late in the evening. I need all y'all to take a deep breath. Oh yeah. And say it with me. Stay happy, stay healthy. Don't do anything we wouldn't do except gatekeep all the posers who don't know the difference between an Ana and a Widowmaker. You're whack. 1v1 me right now. I'll risk my console getting compromised just to put you out. But always keep on being creative. I have been Marcell.
And this is Angry Green.
Angry Green.
I like that.
Angry Green. I like that. Angry Green 931. And you guys have been effectively gatekept, but to the ones who have come in, we welcome you all the same. Take care. Good day. And God bless. Bye.
That's what I said.